If y'all love black people, like this, comment, and share it if y'all love black people.
Gay, and I 1000% support this bill, not only because...
Hi, I'm a queer teacher, and I 1000% do not support this bill. And yes, I do know what's in it. The bill in itself is just another way to stigmatize the LGBTQ+ community. Kids as young as 3 and 4 are actually aware of their gender identity, even if they don't have the language for it. Also very aware of who they like and who they don't like. Heterosexuality is pushed on our kids on a daily basis at a very young age. Media, through books, the first Disney movie that you saw. To say that pre-K through 3rd grade are not ready for such topics is actually internalized homophobia and transphobia. They're very much ready for these topics and are way more accepting than adults when it comes to discussing these topics. We can talk about gender, gender assumptions, pronouns, all the things. And it is child development appropriate and age appropriate. It's literally created as just another means to other queer people. Basically say that us existing is not normal.
Sex, money, bills. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Black women are the only women that will be hypersexualized while simultaneously being hypermasculinized. A perfect example of this is Megan Thee Stallion. How men will fetishize her for her beauty and her body, yet justify Tory Lanez shooting her because, you know, she's aggressive and threatening. Another example, this one man commented on my page and I had to block him immediately because I just don't have the patience, quite frankly. He literally said if I wasn't a masculine, promiscuous seductress, that men will respect me more. And that I should try being more feminine and submissive. Masculine, promiscuous seductress.
Hey there, hi, my name is Mercury. Do you keep getting maintenance people to come to your apartment who are really condescending? Me too. Well, I'm a trans maintenance lady and I'm here to help. Today we're going to talk about door hinges and why they keep falling off the door frame.
Uh-oh, we have some really loose holes. Let's fill those up. Take our toothpicks and rub some wood glue in there. Make sure they're getting really sticky. Place as many of the toothpicks inside the hole as you can. Jam them real tight in there. Repeat this process as you need to. Take your cutters and cut off the excess. Hammer in the remaining, let it dry, and then screw it all back together.
Remember, it's okay to ask questions and it's okay not to know. What's not okay is making people feel bad for not knowing something. We need more compassion in this world, not more anger.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all are probably here because my page recently blew up because some spicy Republicans decided to post one of my videos on Twitter. And at first, this panicked me. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be cyberbullied. But here's the thing. I've always loved a good fight. So I'm gonna come at you after a school day, looking like this, and I'm gonna tell y'all how I teach kids. I'm going to feed off your rage. It's gonna make me a better teacher because I know what I'm doing is right. Also, my school district, the state, and my director all support me.
One of the most common questions I get is how can you say there's no relationship between weight and health? And first of all, virtually nobody is saying that. What I and many other fat activists are saying, and in fact we're begging people to understand this, is that as it stands in the current research, the relationship between weight and health is correlational, not causal. So some research methods 101. When two things are correlated, it means that they're happening at the same time. It does not mean that one thing is causing the other thing. For example, there is a very strong correlation between male pattern baldness and heart attacks, which is true. Now, based on that information, should we ascertain that baldness causes heart attacks? Should we try to get bald men to grow hair in an effort to reduce their likelihood of having a heart attack and then blame them when they can't do it? No, because what's actually happening is that a third factor seems to be at play, which contributes to both baldness and heart attacks. What I'm suggesting is that we look much more closely at the third factors at play when it comes to weight and health. For example, fat people frequently have our blood pressure taken with blood pressure cuffs that are too small. The problem with that is that when you use a cuff that's too small, it will always result in a false high reading. And this happens all the time. So these are the kinds of things I think about when someone says that fat people have higher rates of hypertension. I think, of course we do. We are constantly getting false high readings. And more broadly, there are a number of very influential third factors that contribute to the overall trend of health problems for fat people, such as weight stigma, also known as the stress of discrimination, something that fat people experience a lot. Another is weight cycling. Virtually all fat people have tried to lose weight at some point in our lives, but pursuing weight loss is a virtual guarantee that someone will experience weight cycling, which is extremely hard on the body. And finally, we have inaccessible, inequitable, and biased healthcare. Fat people experience all of these things, and all of them contribute to illness. But despite all of these third factors, discrimination, stress, weight cycling, limited healthcare, biased healthcare, incompetent healthcare, and a lack of proper medical equipment, the cultural conversation around weight and health refuses to evolve. People, especially thin people, tend to be very committed to upholding fat phobia. People are just more comfortable believing that fat people do bad things and that leads to bad health, and thin people do good things and that leads to good health, despite the fact that we know that's very misleading, very stigmatizing, and often untrue. Turns out the pushback that I get on this topic, it's not really about health. It was fat phobia all along, guys.
Okay, I'm going to be a doctor in 2 weeks, and recently I learned something that goes against everything medical school taught me. It's about fat and weight loss. When I say the word fat, it's not a slur, it's the word I've heard fat advocates use, so I'm going to use it as a neutral term. In society, there's this assumption that the bigger you are, the fatter you are, the less healthy you are, and so it's okay to punish you for that because it's for your own good, and can't you see that you'll be better off? And in med school, you're taught that obesity is a risk factor for everything as well. And what I'm about to tell you changed my entire perspective of 4 years of education. There's a lot of research that I'll link below that talks about how it's actually weight stigma that's the problem, that's leading to unhealthy behaviors, which lead to disease like high blood pressure, sleep problems, stress, anxiety, depression. So it's not the weight, it's not the fat, it's the way that people treat you when you have fat. And that's just an individual layer, not a structural one. Also, diets don't work, so let's focus on something we can change, our attitudes.
Hey guys, so we have a really pressing issue to talk to you guys about today, and that is the blonde-brunette caste system.
Now, you've probably never heard those words before, but we can promise you this system is showing up everywhere. Think about how often people say, oh, I just prefer blondes.
Yeah, and they act like it's normal, like it's not a toxic colorist thing to do. And so we also have had a lot of privilege growing up. You might not be able to tell in the lighting, but like I'm platinum blonde.
And I'm a strawberry blonde.
And we didn't realize that if a blonde person has just a tiny bit of brunette hair in their hair,
they're literally called dirty.
They're literally called dirty blonde. And that is extremely colorist.
It's so overt. It's like so
overt
offensive.
colorism.
Yeah. And then look at like the emojis in your phone. There's no brunette emoji. They are telling brunettes, if you want representation, you have to dye your hair black or blonde. Okay? They're telling you you have to erase your identity. That is so upsetting to sit with.
That's extremely upsetting.
I've heard that eating disorders are rare, but disordered eating is common. And I can't speak to that, but I can speak to my own personal experience. I grew up with a parent with an eating disorder, which I didn't know until years later. But my life was saturated with diet culture from the start. We lived on Diet Pepsi and a stream of Beachbody videos, and I was so caught up in molding myself into the perfect kid, and I thought that being small was part of that. In middle school, I put myself on a less than 1,000 calories a day diet, and I exercised like crazy, just trying to make myself small. And I depleted my body, but it didn't change much. In fact, I'm the same weight now that I was then. Little did I know my body was about to rebel. Now, this is a series where I want to share it all, from my 10-year fight with diets to binge eating to my path to intuitive eating. And that's why I'm using yeast, because to me, it represents growth.
Nuance November, let's go. Thin women can smoke 50 cigarettes a day and only eat KFC and no one says anything, but when a fat woman wears a crop top, it's like you're promoting death. 1 in 6 physicians is reluctant to perform pelvic exams on their obese patients. Feminism is the radical idea that women's safety is more important than men's ego. Using BMI to gauge health is like using a mood ring to diagnose mental illness. And BMI was created in the 1800s when cocaine was recommended as a health supplement. Fat phobia is considered the last acceptable form of discrimination.